Hello, hello. Today I want to talk to you about a slightly bigger concept, which I've seen myself having conversations with people for interviews for the show, coaching clients, around this idea of looking at your calories on an annual perspective as opposed to even a daily, weekly, or monthly. And the reason this subject came up is because I've had a couple maintainers come to me and they've been maintaining for several years, and what they have noticed is a gentle increase in weight over time, and they're trying to figure out why this is happening. So what it kind of looks like is they're hitting their maintenance calories Monday through Friday, doing all the things. Then maybe on the weekends they're exceeding those maintenance calories a little bit, or they're going on these vacations, cruises, holidays, and they're having higher than maintenance calorie weeks, but they're not adjusting for it. So for example, if your maintenance calories are 2,000, and then the month you've got a week-long trip planned, and that week you're eating an average of 2,700 calories, and the other weeks you're eating the average of 2,000, those extra 700 calories, the body kind of banks, right? Like it's holding on to that. And if there's never a deficit to kind of suck that in, to use that, then it's considered like a surplus, like in a business, right? It's like a surplus where there's a little bit extra money in the account that you have to contend with. So what I often do is tell people, you can start to look at it like each month of the year can be different, right? So if you know that, say, January through April, you've got a whole lot of nothing going on, you could eat below your maintenance calories, or if you're in a deficit, and wanting to lose weight, you could be in a deficit. But then if you know you've got a birthday month, vacation, you're coming up on the end of the year, and you like to go to different parties and events, and your calories are going to be a lot higher, you could actually structure through the year months where you know you're in a deficit to offset months where you're typically in a surplus or right at maintenance. You could look at through that bigger picture context, because then you actually have a much better likelihood of actually hitting your maintenance calories, or at least if you're in a deficit trying to lose, being realistic with where that's going to happen in the year, right? As opposed to just getting mired down in the details of, oh, this calculator or my Fitbit told me this is my calories, I'm going to eat at those every day and see if I can lose weight or maintain my weight. When you go in with just that daily perspective, it's very hard because our lives are not the same every day, right? Like no human being eats the same calorie allotment every day. It just doesn't happen. You have social events, birthdays, holidays, vacations. You have different weekend events happening. You can't generally eat at the same calorie amount every day. And I see people doing usually one of two things. Either A, they stay locked into their deficit calories for fear of going up and not knowing what to do, so they just stay there, and then they tend to not want to track, or they overindulge when they end up going on these events, but it balances out because they're eating so low all the other times, but they're not happy because they don't understand what they're doing, and there's no sense of control there. There's no autonomy over what's happening. And then the other thing is I see people actually forcing themselves to sometimes eat, like, oh, my maintenance calories are 2,000. I only ate at 1,500 a day. Should I eat that extra 400 or 500? No, there should be variance in what you're doing, as long as when I back off the month, you're averaging what you need to average, or when I look at the year, I see where you took deficits to counter surpluses, and thinking of it more like as a business versus like this thing that you have to nail every day, right? Like a business has months where they bring in a lot of revenue, and then they have months where they don't. They just take that revenue and they adjust it to balance out the other months, right? Same kind of concept. So I just wanted to throw this idea out. If you are somebody who really struggles because you feel like, okay, when I'm home, I do really well hitting my deficit or maintenance calories, but when I add in this week of vacation to a cruise, or I go into the holidays, I always see my weight going up. Well, maybe look at adjusting it during a couple months when you don't have a lot of that stuff going on. Maybe actually eat, if you're in maintenance, actually eat at a deficit, a slight deficit. Or if you're already in a deficit, just either A, accept that those other months you're probably not gonna lose and you're okay with that. Or maybe look at, figuring it out for the whole year. Like if I wanted to be in a deficit for the whole year, what would I have to eat on these other respective months to offset these months where I at least am at maintenance or above maintenance? So it's just a slightly bigger, grander scale way of looking at it. But I know that for a lot of long-term maintainers, this is kind of what trips them up. They really don't think about how to correct for these big things that happen through the year. And they're really focused on those maintenance calories. And I always tell people, you could be eating at your maintenance calories while never eating at your maintenance calories. And what do I mean by that? So say your maintenance calories are 1900. If Monday through Friday you're eating at 1600 and Saturday and Sunday you're eating at 2200, none of those days did you eat at your maintenance calories. But if I average it out for the 7 days, I might realize, and I'm making those numbers off the top of my head, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so I don't have that calculated, but they might actually be your maintenance calories, right? When you diversify them and multiply them out, average them out, that's how you know. So I just want to encourage you, try, if you feel frustrated because you see, okay, these months I'm making great progress, these months I'm not, or I'm seeing over the course of time, my weight is not doing what I want it to do, back off for a minute and say, okay, what does my year look like? Where is it that I'm running into problems? And the more data you have, like if you're a maintainer and you've been tracking for years, you've got all this data to go back to and say, okay, what is my monthly average calories for December or November? And maybe I'm not planning this accordingly. Or if you're somebody who's got in a deficit and you know you're going to be in it again for the next year, maybe go back and look at your year and say, what can I do and plan for to be more proactive this next year? So this is just something, like I said, that's come up as of late that I thought would be extremely helpful. Because you could start to really take a look at this through that big picture lens. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I will be back and talk to you again soon. Take care.